Hello, everyone. Allison here from AllisonReeves.co. And today I have a new series I'm excited to introduce to you. I am going to allow people to come on the podcast and ask me 3 questions about either marketing or mindset. And so today I have my good friend and colleague Joan on the show, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in more detail. And then we're going to go over her mindset and marketing questions. So if you want to hear me help somebody with their business and their other stuff, then just keep watching and we'll get started. Hello, Joan. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so great to be with you, Allison. It's really, and I love your intro video. That is really amazing.
Yeah, I did it in Canva, so I'm sure it'll change in 5 seconds. I'm always changing it. But Joan and I were in a mastermind together last year. Actually, it was just exactly a year ago. I think we were in was it 6 months or 3 months?
6 months.
6-month program, and we have both since launched and sold new offers as a result of that program and have stayed in touch. Joan, I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit more thoroughly, and then we'll just jump in with whatever questions you have. So I can remind you the ones you sent in, or you can, I think you had a new question, but tell us who you are and then we'll jump in.
Sure. Well, I'm really excited to be here talking with you. And I am a life coach specializing in health and using that as a springboard to release all of the stuff we've stored in our bodies that really, I believe, is the foundational piece to healing ourselves. And I came from a brick and mortar practice. I was a dentist for 30 years and also doing acupuncture, which came later, and I did both. And I created a holistic health center in Midtown Manhattan and was doing a upper 6-figure level business. And then, life happened and all kinds of things. And my passion is, after healing myself from much grief and life trauma, physical and emotional, I really had the tools to figure out how I could help myself in a very enormous way for healing and help others. So that's my passion right now. And I'm excited to ask you questions and get some answers from your brilliant business sense, because
Yes.
I know you have that.
Well, we will see. And Joan and I actually worked together a few months ago. It was either in 2022 or early 2021, where I got some support from you around some of this healing. I still do some of the routines we talked about. I use my fir needle oil for releasing, letting go. Okay, so, and you have a pretty powerful story, which I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about as we go. But do you want to start with a question that's on your mind, or do you want me to go to the question document that we started with?
Well, why don't you incorporate the first two together, because they're really about the same. They're about consciousness, mindset, and business.
Yes, great. Okay, so the first question was, how do you tap into the you that is more than your thoughts and actions? And then what does consciousness and alignment mean to you, and how does that impact your personal and business life? So I love these 2 questions. I'm actually glad that I had you send these in before, because I was like, I need to think about this a little bit. But what I'm curious about when it comes to tapping into the you that is more than your thoughts and actions, where is it that you struggle doing that, or what have you done in the past? What have you tried?
Well, for me, I have really, in the past, I would say that's where I had a huge awakening.
Mm,
And for me, I lived in a family of origin that was very, I would say, where I was in a role of taking care of everybody. And people pleasing became my way of being in the world. And it translated into everything I did. And as I continued my growth and self-actualization, what I found was that this was not working for me because I was getting angry. I was resentful. I had all kinds of feelings that just were not furthering my joy in life. And it wasn't until I realized I was uh, in a course with all other women, quite a number, maybe were 50 people. It was a Zoom course, and everyone was talking about their desires. And it occurred to me in such a big way. It was like I was bowled over by this enormous wave. It was like, I don't even know what my desires are. I don't,
Mm.
do I have desires? What are they? I've been doing this and following through, and I've lived an enormously big life. But how could I not know what my desires are? And that became a real up level of self actualization to get me to where I am now.
Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful story. Yeah. I think for me and this question, like tapping into the you that is more than your thoughts and actions, that's something I feel like I've only just start to embody in the last year. And for me, tapping into the me that is more, it's so easy to identify with our thoughts and our actions because that's the obvious thing to identify with is what am I thinking and what am I doing? But for me, like tapping into higher consciousness or being more of myself, leaning into my higher self is all about like tuning into my body and focusing on being. And even with a lot of the work, I mean, you know this like intuitively or through your own work, but the like a lot of the healing work that you do, that's kind of at the end of the day what it boils down to is like coming home to ourselves. Like if we were really listening in the first place, there's all these like I think about I just started realizing how often I eat past being full, even though I don't have a major weight problem. I mean, I think everybody wants to lose 20 pounds, right? Or 5 pounds or whatever. But it's just so normal for me to be disembodied. Like it's just my MO. So tapping into the the more of myself that's outside of just this and what I'm doing is all about focusing on being, which I couldn't do before I learned how to regulate my nervous system. I couldn't sit still or listen or be. But yeah, I love that question. And when people watch the replay, I'm kind of curious, like, what that means to them, to you guys watching, and like, how do you tap into the self, the part of you that's more than thoughts and actions?
I think I love what you said. And two things really that sparked two things in my mind. One is I just wanted to tell you that I really have used no dieting. I have used consciousness to drop 35 pounds
Mm.
effortlessly. And I'm in the best health of my life at 72 years of age.
Wow.
Not only the best health, but I am so active. Most of my friends just want to be me. I have a beautiful partner after going through a lot of grief from the loss of my husband when he passed. And I'll say this on YouTube, I'm having the best sex of my life. Now, how could that be at 72 without hormones,
Mm.
without anything? It's because of all the different self actualizations. And when I think of what really got me started thinking for years, I kept thinking, well, I know myself who I am, and I always feel the same whether I was 5 or 20 or 80. I'm not 80 yet, but 70 or whatever. And that's the what I think of as the you of you, the me of me, that
Mm.
part of us that's unchanging. And when I follow that part, and when I feel in alignment with that part, there really is no question as to what my next right step is. And
Mm.
that's how I've learned to live my life. And it makes it really simple. It's like the pleasure principle. When do you feel most like yourself? When you do this, I usually try it on energetically and see if it works. And if it doesn't, well, or maybe not for now. So, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I love that. That's like I'm just learning about all those things in the last 2 years, and it's like, man, I could have saved a lot of trouble, but I came to the earth to learn these lessons, so here we are. Okay, so I'd love to talk about your business a little bit. I know you're in the middle of a launch, and then I know you you had another question, so I'll let you kind of start from there on what support you want next.
Well, I would love your genius. And I say that with real truth, not hyperbole, because I have,
I receive it. I receive it.
I'm glad,
Thank you.
because that's how it's given. Because for me, I am really a beginner in this online entrepreneurial space. And I originally thought that because I had, excuse me, created a large business. I had an 11-room health center in Midtown Manhattan, and I had other people working in my office, and it was a whole big deal. I thought, oh, and I remember being with you in the mastermind. Everybody was far ahead of where I was. I was just beginning, and I really had no idea. And I kind of was a little arrogant at the beginning. I remember thinking about that, like, well, I know all this, like,
Hmm.
you know, and yet I really feel as though I'm in the infancy of it. So building my base, launching, I'm doing 3 and 6 month. I need some water. I was talking a lot today with my clients.
Oh, you had a fun client story today too.
I did. I did. Um, and whatever suggestions you have for me to get my message out there. I'm doing this as this is not really, this is, of course, a business for me. And I am interested in creating a lifestyle out of it that will nourish me and be abundant. And the driving force for me is, and I'm going to weep. I weep all the time now because it's just the stuff coming out that's so beautiful. This is really my message to share with the world. I don't want to leave this planet and keep it to myself, because it's just like you said, in the past 2 years you're really getting to that space. Well, I don't want my younger people in my family to have to wait till they're my age or your age to get to this space. Let's all learn it early on. And I actually have is something I haven't ever shared with you, something called Posture Up, which is an extremely simple, easy thing I would love to teach all people, and especially children, because what it is it's aligning your body in space in a very simple way that enables you to meet your world, our world, with the most curiosity, the most presence, and the most comfortable level of self-assurance. And if we're super young, what a gift that is.
Hmm.
So, let's make that the major question. I was thinking a TED Talk. I was thinking, going into different school systems, but I don't know really how to start, because I have a video of it, an early video, but where do I begin?
Yeah. Okay. So the question is, there's a couple of questions, and then there's a direction I want to go in that is not the question, but I still want to ask you. So one question is like growing your business, like you're in the infancy. And the other question is, I want to take this talk to more people. Like, how do I reach more people? Where do I start for the outreach? So, to answer that question, I want to take a step back, because one thing you shared before the call is that you have a new client that bought your 3-month coaching package.
Oh, yes.
And so that's a huge win. You've had clients before. So I always tell people, when you're going from zero to your first dollar, there is so much more friction than going from your first dollar to 5K, 10K and beyond. Because like once you figure out what that feels like, so you already have a lot of friction gone because you have a business. It's just
Oh,
that you
yeah.
didn't know how to do it on the internet.
Right.
And so tell me how you got that for that client. This is your first like totally online client.
Well, for me, it's been an evolution of practicing medicine,
Hmm.
going to medical school, going to acupuncture school, and then learning multitudes of and getting certificates in all different things, craniosacral. I'm a perpetual student. I work with, I've had the great fortune and opportunity to work with giants in the field of vibrational and energy medicine. And they are my legacy, and I am working my own magic with their space behind me.
Mhm.
And so for me, this client is it's a gift because I didn't know exactly how my work would translate into an online experience. The first thing I ever did was 2.5 years ago, I did a course called Awaken. And it
Mhm.
was about creating consciousness and just what we were talking about at the beginning. And it was amazingly successful. And I stopped. I had some health issues I needed to deal with. And I think I also got a little scared.
Mhm.
And then I took the mastermind that you and I took, and I was totally frustrated. I was there for all of it, and I worked it, and I was like, no clients, nothing, crickets. And I just kept working it and working on my offer. And then I was putting a lot of things into the space. I post almost every day
Mhm.
on Facebook, both in my Awakened Conscious community group, my personal page, and Instagram. For a while, I was doing TikTok and I was doing a little LinkedIn, which I think would be good, but it's just too much for me right now.
Mhm.
So this person came to me she had seen me in a group class I was in, and she was following me, and we did a sales call. And it was really interesting because it was clear to me that I really didn't have to sell anything.
Yeah.
She was there to do her due diligence, and she knew that she wanted to do something. And so I presented the offer, and we're probably at least 2 months in, I think, and it was a 3-month container. The expression of gratitude each time we meet is mind boggling, and it's such an honor. She's having extraordinary results, physical results that have been things. And I will say, I was a little apprehensive because she had done all the things when I asked her before we started the container, all the things she had been doing. It was everything. It was all the mindset, all the body. And then I did have that little self-sabotage feeling like, well, she's done everything. What are you going to do? And then I said, well, you know what? I have this burning desire to share what I know. So share it and see what happens. And it's been so fabulous. I'm so thrilled for her. In fact, when we spoke the last time, I said to her, well, I don't, because we were moving on to other things, partnership, other things. And I said, well, how are you doing with the physical? She had been an athlete, and a serious athlete, paid athlete. And she almost forgot. She goes, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That oh, that's beautiful. I did another interview a couple months ago and I asked the person like, how do you know you've shifted timelines? And they said, when something that you have struggled with for a long time just kind of disappears. And like, that's such a good example of like this thing that was so hard for so long for her that she was like, oh yeah, that happened to me recently I used to be super scared of driving over bridges because I'm afraid of heights. So when I would see a bridge, like a big bridge coming up, I would just get so terrified. And I drove over a bridge a few weeks ago and I drove to and from Austin by myself this week. And I was like, it's just so weird. I'm not anxious about it at all. Okay, so my question, so you have your first, so like just like going from zero to $1 is like one of the hardest things you'll ever do in entrepreneurship. Just getting paid for the first time. And then having your first online client, that's another huge hurdle that you've now crossed. So now you have data. So when it comes to like the big question is like, how do I grow or how do I find these connections? Like possibly doing a TED talk. I do have some resources for you that are more practical for finding places to speak. But what was when she came to you and she'd basically already sold herself?
Mhm.
So what was it? What was the result that she wanted to get? What did she want
She
right now?
wanted to feel better in her body.
She wanted to feel better in her body. And was there any piece of content that she mentioned that was significant to her reaching out to you?
I think she had a sense of who I was, who
Mhm.
I am.
And then what was it that she had so she had tried mindset, all the physical stuff you usually recommend. What was what's the gap that you're filling for her?
I think that, well, I haven't been fully out there with this, but I have healed myself from life-threatening illness and really terrible stuff. I was run over by a taxi right across from my apartment on the
A
Upper East Side.
small incident getting run
Right.
over by a tiger.
I was under the car.
Ugh,
The tire was on my left big toe. The surgeon said to me, "That's a hell of a bone density test," because my toe did not break, and I used all my things to do that. And my ankle was fully crushed. I didn't walk for the better part of 3 years. I had 3 different surgeries. And now I walk 10 miles and I barely feel tired.
yeah, that's
Um,
amazing. So
and
this to me, this is, I think, significant. Two things. One is she wants to feel better in her body. So, like, knowing that somebody paid you money for that, really leading with that in your content. And then your story is so powerful and you are so good at being consistent. Like I see you and your content posting every day, but I feel like what people are going to be most curious about is more details on, and if we have healing, even though you are a healer, because internet and algorithms don't like people to say that they heal things, although you are a doctor. um, what was it? One of your taglines was like a Western approach to, what was it? Or
I've had so many,
I
but I've
know.
called myself like the wellness doc or the different things.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't recall.
So the how of what you're doing, like, it would be very hard for you to give away anything that was too valuable because like the way that people are helped by you is so individual, right? So you can talk about protocols and not be, like over delivering for free content, but I would love to see you talk more about the specifics on your own story, like just hyper focusing on one small part. Like you probably have 20 or 100 posts just by getting run over by the taxi. So like, here's how I didn't break my toe when it got run over by a taxi. Here's how I healed my ankle after getting run over by a taxi. Here's how I recovered from trauma after getting run over by a taxi. So you have all these personal stories and just keep them short, keep them specific. And same thing with your clients. And like this story you just shared on, like, we were working together for 3 months because she wanted to feel better in her body, and by our last call, you asked her, like, "Well, how are you feeling?" And she'd totally forgotten that's why she came to you, because it was such a non-issue. What a powerful story to share. That, I think, is the gateway, is being, because your content is so positive, it's so uplifting. Like, I love seeing you on your walks, but I wanna hear, like, more of the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I do love getting on. It's so easy for me to just start riffing when I'm walking in the park.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
follow Joan on Instagram. It'll brighten your day. And so that's the first part, is like really getting specific on the content, on more of your how. I think people need to know about the results you get more often, because that, your self-healing is the thing that really got me tuned in to following you too. So that's at least 2 people. And then on speaking more, on reaching more people, um, I have a $9 course called the Audience Accelerator. It's all about audience borrowing. And so whether anybody buys it or not, audience borrowing is a great way to start priming yourself for possibly speaking and getting invited on stages. Bigger stages basically require a book. I know you can speak without it, but for whatever reason, and I feel like you have a book inside you.
I've written 2 books this year.
There you go.
They're in the process of being edited. One is like the complete book and another is a workbook.
Perfect. Yeah. So that I feel like will be huge to the end of getting you on stages. But
Mhm.
even if you can are like there's a bunch of Facebook groups that are geared towards podcast collaborations. So you can have a goal for yourself, knowing that you want all of this to reach as many people as possible. And your story is cool as hell. Like you have a really good story. It's not a normal story. Like you're a 72-year-old who's having the best sex of her life. That's a pretty good headline. Um, but I would have a goal for yourself on I'm going to, reach out to 5 or 10 people a week for speaking opportunities. I'm going to ask to speak in people's Facebook groups, people's podcasts. And then there's a website, which I'm going to put this in the chat and then you'll have it, but it'll also be there for anyone who watches the replay. There's a membership that I'm in for looking for like bigger events to speak at called Innovation Women. And let's see. It's $100 a year, and it has a lot of really great opportunities.
Oh, cool.
Can
Thank
I
you.
find it quickly? Yeah, so that's how I spoke at a Pinterest conference in Fort Worth, which is about 4 hours from me,
Mhm.
and I had 50 people come to see me speak who didn't know me and talk about abundance mindset, which I thought was pretty good for my first or that was my second, like, stage event ever, but I was like it was the first one I ever found on my own. Okay, how can I found this? There we
That's
go.
fabulous, Allison.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It was just really good experience. Okay, so this is an affiliate link for this membership and so that people watching the replay can see it and Joan, you can see
Great.
this. And then Joan, I'll share in that $9 course I'm mentioning,
Uh-huh.
there's what I have a collaboration directory, which is a bunch of places to find collaborations. And so I will share that with you to thank you for being a guest. And if anybody wants that, they can pay $9. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. But I'll just send you that directory after our
Oh,
call.
great. Thank you.
Yeah. So those are all your problems solved.
Well, the last thing is I have not had one person sign up yet for my upcoming course that I want to do in November.
Mm-hmm.
And this course is really this was a no-brainer course. This just everything I post, everything I do, it's all basically a download.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing, whenever I write something, there's nothing I'm struggling with. It's always like, oh, okay, this is what I need to say now. And I don't know where it comes from. It comes from my collaborative life and whatever else the universe is deeming to gift me with. And so I decided that why shouldn't all women who are going through transition, because we're all going through transition, feel the way I do?
Mm.
My partner, Ken, says to me, tell me again when your 16th birthday is. Because I feel like I am really juicier, happier, more. Now, don't get me wrong. Just like everybody else, I feel sadness. I feel grief. I have difficult times. The difference is I have learned how to hold everything at the same time.
Yeah.
And that is what I think of as my abundance. Because I used to be, oh, I can only feel sad about this or bad about this or da 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 da. And now I just experience that with the world events.
Mm.
There's a lot of grief and sorrow and sadness out there. And how do we live our day-to-day life and still go on and have the happy moments, have those small, beautiful jewels of life that are really as wonderful as the giant celebrations. So this was my idea, women going through a perimenopause, menopause, feeling as though maybe life has passed them by, dryness in the yoni area, lack of libido, uh, wondering what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. And so I said, well, why don't I just do a course on that? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be a 6-week, 6 modules we're going to tap into everything, the science, the medicine, the mindset, and, also the energetics and a little magic.
Yeah. I've been loving your visuals for the marketing for this course. Like the screenshot of your 10-mile day, 18,000 steps, and the photos you've been posting. I think again, what I'm curious about is if you could be more specific, not to what's in the program exactly, but to the the pain that people are experiencing and why they would want in. So when I'm just looking at Facebook and Instagram. Um, so like, I wonder if I can share my screen.
Did you see what I posted today? Because I listed stuff in the modules, although I numbered them. I didn't adjust the numbering. That was all wrong on my Google Doc.
Well, I see your reel. Oh, well, I see your Google Doc too. So like I think the client stories can speak to this. And the other thing with the reels is that I'm going to share my screen. We'll see how easy it is. Okay. That looks like it is working. Okay, so like this is the post from today. So the good thing about a reel is that it has a higher likelihood of going viral or reaching people outside of your current network. The downside is that it's a little harder to absorb the content, especially on Facebook. On Instagram, it's a little bit easier to read the caption, obviously, because the text is not like over the graphic like this. But I want to see more copy on this program, and I saw you had another post like this. You can talk about this story over and over and over again. 8 years ago, I was run over by a taxi in NYC. Like, this was a great story. I'm sure that piqued some interest. And you had the images here. This is a great post because you have a lot more information. But I still want to know, like, I want you to speak to the story. So like a common structure of like a post that's you want somebody to read the whole post is like the first sentence is the most interesting part of the post. The first 4 lines are the most important of the post to get them to read. So one thing I would do is like after you write a post, read it and think, what's the most interesting part about this? So the part where you got run over on that one post, like that post did pretty well. Understandably so. The post of you, the picture of you and the 18,000 steps, that post has a lot of engagement compared to like your average. Like people like pictures of you. So if I was going to re-swizzle this post that we were looking at, which I already think is a decent post to get people to read it all the way through.
It's long.
There's nothing wrong with it being long. It could be way longer than this and still be good.
Oh, not this one. The one from today I was thinking of. It's very
Where's the one? Is this the one from today here?
Yeah.
Wonder if there's another way for me to read.
It on Instagram, that's where I originally posted it, and I just shared it to Facebook.
Okay,
which
cool.
is never exactly the best way to do it, I know, but I had limited time.
I always post on both. I feel like reels always look a little goofy on Facebook though. So let me share Instagram instead. It's pretty cool that I can share and go back and forth like that.
It really is.
Is it this one? Yes, it's this one.
That one.
Okay. Oh, that's so nice. It didn't play with it was automatically muted. I was like dreading the sound. Okay. So I love that you have so much information here. You're talking about what's in the program. If I was going to, like, I would keep this post as it is, but if I was going to post this again differently to just reuse content, I would say, like, what gets people to engage and read is it has to be about them, or they have to have a reason to read it. So if we start a post that like talking about the program or what we want, it's often not going to have the same engagement as if we're structure the post in a way to give people what they want instead.
Can you scroll up, because I put at the end, let's keep going. Is that it? No. See, I put the transformation at the end, which should be at the beginning.
Yes, I would probably do that. So let me skim this real quick because I haven't read this. Like, and again, I wouldn't change anything about this post because it's one of many posts you're going to have about the program. I'm just thinking, so speaking your yes. I feel like you could write a post about, because these are all the results that you want for the program, right? This is also a lot of results. And people don't know what posture up is. So, and did you do any market research for this program?
No, because it's just I did it and it changed people's lives who I
Yeah.
did
I
with.
don't think you always have to do market research. I was just curious.
No,
So I
no.
would go back to go
And
back to past.
excuse me.
Mhm.
It's based on qigong.
Okay. So going back to past interviews, what we want to know about, like, for marketing this program and how to build stories, is the main results that people want. Um, so like, we know that people are not going to desire the posture up movement. Like, they want the results of the posture up movement. They want their posture to be upright, but I don't know that that's the sexiest transformation. So I would lead with, like, I think what you're saying about your sex life and drive and all those things are like, that's like very specific, because it wasn't clear to me that you were talking to women who are like you or aging, perimenopausal, menopause.
Uh-huh.
I think if you got specific about that, that could be helpful too. What's your main goal with this program?
My main goal is for women to feel more thrilled with their lives.
Good, got it. So I just realized there's like a podcast playing on my phone. I thought I heard something in the background. Okay, so say that one more time because I was distracted by that sound.
Uh, my main goal is for women to feel more thrilled with their lives as they go through the aging process, because society has basically said this is a youth culture. It only goes downhill from here. When you go through hormonal changes, your libido will drop and you'll have less lubrication, to be graphic, in your vagina unless you do some form of hormonal therapy. And
Mhm.
that is not true.
So we want women to be thrilled with their lives and celebrate the aging process. And I think a huge part of this is improving your sex life and confidence through aging, and even thriving more while aging and not less.
Yes, and I would say gathering up all of the gifts that we have moved through to get to this stage in life so that we create an even grander life than we ever imagined.
Mm,
Because that's exactly what I've done. I don't know anyone else really who has started a new business at 70 and is living the kind of life I am. And
yeah.
it's so doable. That's the thing. It's not that this is easier to do it this way than to keep up the status quo. I'm all for ease. I'm all for following the pleasure principle. Nothing I do now, I do if it feels hard.
Following the pleasure. So all of those things feel like really clear results to me. Be thrilled with your life, celebrate the aging process, improving your sex life, thriving more while aging, using all the gifts you've built up to this point, having a grander life than you've imagined, following the pleasure principle. And so I would try to write a post. I just put this in the notes doc that you shared with me. So you have this. I would try to write a story around each of those and like write the story, let the post be messy. And then you want to go back through and make sure those first 4 lines want to make people want to read the rest. It can't be, I mean, if it's about you, it has to be really interesting. We want it to be like outward focused. So client stories or have you ever, or we want it to point outwards. And then after you're done writing, make sure that first sentence is the most interesting thing. And that every sentence makes somebody want to read the next one. And then at the end of the post, you can either talk about the program in more detail or just tell people to DM you or drop the link and make it easy for people to buy it. But yeah, keep going. I think you have to focus, you have to be more specific on who it's for and more specific on the results and stories.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When we were just anticipating starting this podcast, I started to tell you about a client I saw today, actually in my office. And it was someone who was going through all of these things, someone I've seen for quite some time. And people release on their own timeline. It's always important to honor wherever someone is, because we all have different evolutions in life and different journeys, and to focus on the coaches or the mentors or the practitioners timeline of how you should be, to me, is fruitless.
Mm-hmm.
And this person had such an enormous release. I was doing my magic of acupuncture, craniosacral, Reiki, light therapy, sound, I mix it up. I love it. It's so fun. And I can tell how people do by the sound of their voice, the color I see around them, when they're in the office, by pulses. And the change was luminous.
Mm.
And it's been a long time coming. And for the first time seeing this person, I never had seen this with her before. I do see things in other realms at times. And I saw this, I don't know, these things just come into my vision, in my mind's eye. I saw this like beautiful lioness face with these white stripes above the eyes, like a cat, but much grander, I said to her something, and at first I thought, oh, is this something for me? I wasn't really sure. And then it was so clear this was her spirit animal. And I asked her about it, and it was such a clear yes. And she's not like that, but she was like, oh, yes. And she even knew the name. It was Lola. And
Oh,
it was so interesting to see the support show up in that way in the universe. It was really beautiful. And
that's amazing.
doing this kind of work is it's abundance, it's nourishment, it's the reception of qi, as they call it in Chinese medicine, reception of the energy of life. And that's all we all want, is we want to receive the energy that we can to live the life that will create shift for the world and ourselves.
Yeah. Well, what a beautiful story. What an amazing transformation you were able to bring to her. So we are out of time, but I do want to leave everybody with how they can find out more. The new program of Joan's is called Dripping in Decadence. You can see it all over her social media. But what is the best way for people to reach you, Joan?
Actually, I monitored the title a little bit, Dripping with Desire.
Dripping with Desire. Beautiful. So Dripping with Desire. And how can people learn more about you and your work?
They can message me on Instagram or on Facebook. And my website is drjoanborden.com.
drjoanborden.com. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you on the internet very soon, and hopefully people will find you and connect.
Thank you so much, Allison. This was really helpful, and I'm looking forward to putting it all into practice.
Yeah,
You'll
and it
see
was
on my upcoming posts.
yes, I will start engaging with them more. It was just good to catch up with you too, Joan.
Yeah, a pleasure. Take care, Allison. Thank you.